So in this video, you are going to learn how I became a brand naming expert. So what is brand naming first? Well, brand naming basically means giving a brand a name. It's as simple as that. And who is a brand naming expert? A brand naming expert is somebody who is skilled or who is a specialist at actually giving brands names, and not just random names, but they take a lot of things, they consider a lot of things, they put a lot of things into perspective, including making sure that the name is not already being used, trademark, all kinds of stuff, and they come up with a name for brands. So that's what I became recently. So it's been like professionally, I've been a brand naming expert for less than 4 months. So I want to share my experience with you guys, how it all happened, so that if you want to be a brand naming expert, then perhaps you can learn something from my story. So now, for clarification's sake, who is a brand naming expert and who is a branding expert? Well, they are interwoven. Okay, you can be a brand naming expert, but not necessarily be a branding expert. But you can be a branding expert and also be a brand naming expert. So brand naming expert is kind of like a product of a branding expert. So I am both. I am a branding expert. I am a brand naming expert. But recently, I am in love with naming brands. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. So I didn't just wake up one morning and decided that, I'm going to be a brand naming expert. No, it's not like that. That's not how it works. It's not that easy. So before I became a brand naming expert, you guys already know I am a jewelry business coach. So I'm not just a jewelry business coach. I also work with a lot of other, businesses as well. In fact, some of the businesses that I enjoy working with the most, that I love working with, and some of my best work are actually non-jewelry. I've worked with skincare, I've worked with real estate, I've worked with hair businesses, I've worked with grocery shops. Yeah, surprisingly. So, guys, I'm not just a jewelry business coach, but I am passionate about jewelry, and that's the reason why I choose jewelry to be, my title or something like that. So if whatever you do, if you want to work with me, please be my guest. All right, now let's get deeper into what I want to talk about. So basically, my experience as an entrepreneur and as a business coach played a role in how I became a brand name expert today. So there's no how you'll be a business coach or be an entrepreneur that you will not do marketing and that you will not do branding. Being a branding expert is an integral part of being a brand naming expert. And you guys can tell, because if you watch my video, I basically ran you through how I named my businesses. And this is how you can name your business and how I name people's business today. So guys, the secret is up there. The secret is in this video. But it's not just as easy, as simple as watching this one video and think you can be a brand naming expert. No, that's not how it works. There's a lot more that even I myself have come to find out in the last couple months that I've spent being a brand naming expert. So without a doubt, being an entrepreneur, being a business coach played a big role in where I am today. So what else played a role in me being a brand naming expert? It is music. And this may be surprising to a lot of people. How can music play a role in you being a brand naming expert? Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, that's because before I became an entrepreneur or became a jewelry business coach, I was into music. And particularly, I was a rapper. I was doing hip-hop music. And not just rapper or rap music as you know it. I was a lyricist. A lyricist is someone who focuses more attention on the lyrics of the song than the beat. And that's the reason why a lot of lyricists are usually boom bappers. There are people, there are rappers who rap on boom bap beats. I'm talking about people like Mos Def, Lupe Fiasco, Talib Kweli, Black Thought. These are lyricists because they put more attention on the lyrics of their song than the melody of the beat or all those kind of things. And that's how I was. So I was also a lyricist or a wordsmith, if you can put it that way. So I was more like a poet. So the kind of rap that I did was, is a lot deeper than what you read on the surface. It could be one sentence, but it has like 2 or 3 meanings to it. So I put a lot of attention into the words, in the language, the figure of speech that I use in my lyrics. So that played a big role in how I became a brand naming expert, because naming a brand means that you have to know a lot about moving words, juggling words, scrambling words and all of that. Another thing that played a big role in me being a brand naming expert today is storytelling. Also, some people might find this very surprising, but hey, storytelling is something that I fell in love with a couple years ago. I mean, I've always had it in me. I've always loved it. I never learned the word storytelling, in the way I learn it today, the way I know it today. So storytelling played a big role as well, because with storytelling, you learn to use all kinds of emotion. You learn to draw out emotion out of people, and that's what that played a big role in how I became a brand naming expert today. So how did the idea of being a brand naming expert come about? Well, it came about because I've been a jewelry business coach for roughly 4 years now, and I'm always looking for the next thing in my life. And that's even how I became a jewelry business coach, because I was like, okay, so what's the next thing for me? So I've been looking for, okay, what's the next thing for me to do? And I decided that I was going to start an agency, but not just any other agency. I didn't just want to be like any other agency. At first, I was like, okay, I want to start a jewelry business growth agency. But I was like, man, I'm starting to feel like, I don't want to just be cornered to jewelry. I want to do something else that is a bit more macro. And even if I'm going to later on narrow it down to jewelry, I want the entry points to be narrow for all kinds of people, and then later, I'll filter them along the way. So that's how I kind of like started to think about what I wanted to do. A lot of ideas came to me. I slept with a lot of ideas. I thought about a lot of ideas, but I couldn't think of something that resonates more with my soul. I did a lot of research. I looked at my skills. I looked at things that I was passionate about. But every time I thought of something that I was passionate about, it always had to do with creativity. It always had to do with either writing or painting or illustration, all those kind of things. And a lot of you guys don't even know it. I'm a painter as well. I paint a lot, and I'm a very good painter. But I paint at home, so I don't paint professionally. Creativity is my bread and butter, But I was like, man, I enjoy using words, I enjoy writing words. And I'm also a copywriter. A lot of you guys don't know that. I also write copies for people, and I get paid to write people's copy. I get paid to write people's emails. I get paid to do all kinds of writing. So I was like, man, I'm going to go with anything that has to do with words, juggling words, because I love this. And I remembered when I was coming up with the name for my brand, Mandilax, and how I love the entire process. And not just love the entire process, but I always felt like I wanted to recreate that process. So every time I was working with a client, whether established or new, I enjoyed when they come to me, when they came to me with a problem of, branding or of naming their brand. Because when you work as a business coach, I'm speaking for myself right now. As a jewelry business coach, one of the problems that my clients and my students usually face is, how do I name my brand, coach? How do I name it? And whenever somebody came to me with that problem, I always want to take it off their back, because I enjoy the process of naming a business. So I would send them a couple of questions. What do you want your brand to look like? What do you want people to perceive? How do you visualize it? What kind of name do you want? Do you have any sample of name that you love? So I would ask them all bunch of questions, a lot of questions. And then with the answer that they give me, I would go into my creative realm, and I would develop series of names that I'll give to them. And usually they always find something that they love in the first instance. I never had to revise anybody's name. They just love, something that I give them. And so this kind of like reinforced my belief that maybe I might be talented in naming brands, and I didn't know it. But I wanted to take it up a notch. I wanted to test it out. So I was like, okay, if that's how I feel, if I feel like I want to test it out, then I might as well just test it out, because that's what I do. That's how I approach life. Whenever I feel something, I don't just let it die down. I want to put it out there. I want to put it to test. And this has played a huge role in my growth, in my career growth, and where I find myself today. I never let an idea go to waste without testing it. I might not test it for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, but down the line, I will put it to test. And whatever it gives me, whatever feedback I get back, I'll take it and, I'll run with it. So long story short, I did my research, I went online and I found out that there aren't actually so many brand naming experts out there. So I was like, well, this is a niche and it's a blue ocean. So I don't still know if it's a blue ocean, but my research tells me that there are more brand naming experts than there are branding experts. So I was like, maybe it's a blue ocean, and I love blue ocean. So I went into blue ocean. I hope somebody is not confusing what I'm saying with blue ocean. Where blue ocean basically means an ocean or a sea that a lot of people haven't been swimming in, compared to a red ocean. Red ocean is bloody because a lot of people have died there, they've killed each other there. But the blue ocean is still kind of like, oh, it's fresh. There's nobody. So that's the blue ocean, red ocean thing. So moving on. I also did my research. I went on Fiverr, I went on Upwork especially, and I found out that brand naming is actually a high income skill. So even though I was looking for an entry point for people into my agency, I was also looking for something that would be like, an high income skill. I wasn't looking for just anything. I didn't want it to be just anything that people can, maybe do by themselves. Or I wanted it to be something that they can do and they will be willing to pay premium for it. Because as much as I want to impact people's business and impact people's life, I also want to make a good living out of it. So I was like, man, this is it. I am going into brand naming. I'm going to become a brand naming expert. And that's how I found myself in brand naming. But I didn't just put that title, after my name. I actually went out there and got into the field. So that's going to lead me to how I got into the field of brand naming. So let's get into it. So when I decided to be a brand naming expert, what I did was to set up an account on Upwork because I didn't have a case study. For you to be able to be a brand naming expert, people want to see proof of what you have done before. You can't just wake up one morning and call yourself a brand naming expert. You must have series of successful brands that you have named before. So I took my brands, I took 2 of my brands, and I took 2 brands of my clients that I worked with before, or my students that I named their brand. So I took their name, took their logo, and created like documents, that you would call like a case study. So all in all, I had 5 case studies ready to go, but they were all centered around jewelry business because I haven't named any other brand outside of jewelry. But then what I did in my Upwork, because Upwork was where I started, advertising my skills as a brand naming expert. So what I did in my bio on Upwork was that I wrote there that even though I was a jewelry business coach or a jewelry business specialist or expert, the brands that I've worked with, that I enjoy working with the most, are actually not jewelry related. So I think this is what my first client saw that made him interested in working with me. So that my client, whoever you are in Australia, you influenced my life positively. You changed my life and you made it possible for me to call myself a brand naming expert. So this was the first person that believed in me, that trusted in me, and bought my service as a brand naming expert. So it was a training school in Australia. They had a training school already, but they wanted to have a new branch. They wanted to set up a new branch, and then they needed someone to name that branch. They had all kinds of criteria that they want the name to be. So I went in. Before that, let me tell you guys that getting a gig on Upwork is not easy. Reason being that you have to apply, you have to send a proposal before anyone would accept to work with you or give you a gig. I got lucky with Upwork because unlike a lot of people, according to what I've read online and the videos that I've seen on YouTube, it usually takes some people about 3 months before they get their first client on Upwork. But that wasn't the case for me. I got my client the very first week that I joined Upwork. So the very first week that I joined Upwork, and within the first 10 proposals that I sent, I got my very first client. And it wasn't just a client that was paying me, peanuts or something. I got paid $400 to come up with a name. And for me, that's huge for someone who doesn't have a ranking, who doesn't have, an actual case study, well, maybe I do have a case study, but I didn't have any rank. I'm fresh, I'm new, I'm just trying to build my rank, no review, no nothing. And I got my first client, I was thrilled. It's not my doing. For me, that was divine. That's law of attraction right there, like for me, because I thought about that moment. I dreamt about that moment and I manifested that moment. So I got my first gig. It was 400 and it was the training school, and it actually took me a long time to come up with the name. So I didn't know that it was going to take me that long. I told this client that it was going to take me about 10 days, but then it took me exactly 10 days to do it. So I told the client 10 days because I was like, in 2-3 days I'll submit the names. But it took me longer. First of all, because I didn't want to disappoint the client, so I took my time. In fact, I cleared out these entire 10 days, just working on this name. I came up with, they are going to choose just one name. This client is looking for only one name. But guess how many names I came up with? More than 60 names just to nail this one name. So it wasn't that easy for me as I thought it was going to be. But anyway, it turned out to be great. It turned out to be good because this client was satisfied with one of the names that I came up with. In fact, they loved all the names, but they had to pick one. They had to conduct a survey amongst their students. Because like I said, they had a training school. So they had to conduct a survey amongst the students and the ESCOs of their school. And that's how they arrived at the name that they chose. Of course, I'm not going to share the name here because no, that's not how it works. So this one gig gave me the boost that I needed, because all I had to do now was to take that money, the money that was paid to me, I had to take it and invest it in myself, in my skills. And I went online and I bought some books that can help me in brand naming and stuff. So I basically invested the money, the $400 that I made, I invested it on my brand naming skills. And that helped me a lot in being more confident in how I would grow up with names. And it wasn't just the resources that I spent money on that helped me. I listened to a lot of podcasts as well. I tried to grow my skill. I tried to develop this skill beyond just my intuition or beyond just my own personal knowledge. So far, guys, how many names have I crafted? I have crafted so far 44 brand names. So which means since I became a brand naming expert in August, that's when I decided that I was going to do this. I have named 44 brands. For all the names that I crafted, I got nothing less than a 5-star review. So for me, this was a confidence over the moon, like a huge confidence boost for me, because it means that I am on the right track. And I am very, very confident when I say that I am a brand naming expert today. Just going by my records. 44 names in August, September, October, November, December. We are in December now. Roughly 3 months. Roughly 3 months. And I've already developed 44 names. That's crazy if you ask me. So far, I have not only worked with jewelry brands. I've worked with apparels, or clothing brands. I've worked with construction brands. I've worked with trucking brands. I've worked with waffle houses. I've worked with coffee shops. I've worked with CNC laboratory or factories. I've worked with all kinds of businesses. In fact, a lot of times when I receive a notification that I have a new order, what I'm looking for, what I want to see is what kind of business it is. That's the first thing that I want to see, because I want to be thrilled again by the industry that I'm working with. So far, guys, it's been an amazing experience, because I've not only been working on Upwork, but actually everything took off when I joined Fiverr. So Fiverr used to be a platform that I used to go to hire people to work for me. But now I am the one being hired to work on Fiverr. So I have a profile on Fiverr now, and Fiverr is where I actually got most of my clients, because after a while I got tired of sending out proposals on Upwork and all that. So it's quite competitive on Upwork, even though it's a premium, you get paid premium, it's quite competitive, and I just got tired. In fact, I had to employ someone to become my proposal writer on Upwork. You know, of course, I have a template. I wrote a template and I gave it to this person that I hired, you know, to be using this template to apply for jobs. But after a while, I realized that, you know, even though I was buying Connect and I was boosting my proposal and all that, you know, it just wasn't giving me the kind of return on time and, you know, finance that I was putting in there. So I decided to go to Fiverr, because Fiverr, you don't have to send a proposal, people come to you. So I went on Fiverr, set up my profile, made sure everything was top notch, using all my marketing skills and my branding skills. And I think I got my first order on Fiverr also the same week that I did it. But it was somebody that knew me that ordered for me, and it was my wife. So I didn't even ask her to do it. But my wife, I guess, as a way of encouraging me, you know, wanted to just support me. And so she went there and bought. I just woke up that morning. I saw the order. In fact, I was waking her up to tell her that I got a new order, and she was the one that told me that no, it was me who ordered from you. And you know, that's why, you know, it's important to also, you know, have people around you who encourage you. So that was a way of encouraging me. Now, even though it was my wife who placed this order, I didn't treat it as, you know, it was my wife's order. No, I treated it as if it was a stranger, because I really cleared out my schedule for that day, and the same energy that I gave to the training school that hired me to come up with a name was the same energy that I gave to it, even though it came from my wife. So I wanted to be very professional about it. Everything that I did was professional. I approached it the same way I would approach a stranger. And I think, you know, this speaks about my ethics, my work ethics. So I didn't say because it was my wife that I was just going to submit anything. No, I submitted it. And I don't know how she got the briefing, but it was a costume clothing, and it was supposed to like some funny costume clothing or something like that, you know, for Halloween. She sent that briefing. I don't even know how she found the brief, but I can believe that she must have generated it somewhere, you know. So, you know, I came up with all kinds of names, different names, and these were names that I even was, you know, I envied those names. I was like, man, if I would set up like maybe a dropshipping site or a new business and it's going to be about costume clothing, I could use one of these names. In fact, I'm going to put some of those names on the screen for any of you who want to go into like costume clothing. You can take any of these names and use them, you know, free of charge for you. So far, you know, it's been a journey being a brand naming expert. I loved it. I love when I get to talk to people, you know, in different fields, and learn about their business and learn their vision for their business, learn what they're looking for. You know, I love that entire process of coming up with the name itself. You know, there's a lot of aha moment for me when I'm coming up with names. There's a lot of wow moments when I discover that the name that I developed is available. I'm like, so nobody has came up with the name like this. That's the wow moment for me. And this is that moment that I love the most. You know, if you ask me what is the one moment that I love about brand naming, apart from getting paid, the moment that I love the most is that wow moment when I discover that this name that I came up with is available and nobody has it. And that somehow has also led me into, you know, going into domain, you know, business, you know, which is selling domain. But I won't get into that now, you know, because I'm working on that on the side, you know, on the background. So guys, that's my journey into becoming a brand naming expert. I don't even know why I'm making this video, but I know that there are a lot of people who are also thinking about becoming brand naming expert or any kind of naming expert. So maybe you can learn from my journey, you know. So the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that you can be whatever you want to be, you know. You just have to put your mind into it. You just have to test the idea. I love the idea of testing out ideas. I never let an idea go to waste without testing it, because I hate to look back and be like, had I known, I should have tested that idea. So I've read a lot and I've heard from a lot of people who have made it in life to know that the worst moment of your life will be when you look back at something and be like, maybe, just maybe, had I know, if I had tried that, maybe it would have worked, maybe. I never want to find myself in that kind of situation. So any idea that comes to me, I always try to experiment it. So this was just an idea. Becoming a brand naming expert was an idea that I tested. And this is where I am today. And I actually see myself being like, you know, really deep into brand naming. I see myself into, in fact, creating a separate YouTube channel where I will be talking about just brand naming. So guys, I've shared everything with you guys, and I hope that this helps someone out there. Or if you found this video because you want me to name, you are looking for someone to help you name your brand or name your business, you can always holler at me on Fiverr, where I currently offer my service. So whatever works for you, whether Fiverr or Upwork, just holler at me there. And I'll also leave a link in the description of this video where you can click and buy my gig. If you want to buy my cheap gig, then you should talk to me on Fiverr. My initial plan was that, okay, after my first 10, 20 orders, I'll raise my price, but I did raise my price, yeah, but I didn't raise it as much as I thought I would raise it. Because why? I still want to enjoy this process. I still want to continue to do this. I still want to continue to build my cloud. My price is still low right now. So if you place an order, or if you choose to work with me, you will be paying much less than you would pay me, much less than you will pay me in 5 years time or 10 years time to come. So guys, that's it about this video. I hope you've learned one thing or two. And if there's anything that you learn at all from this video, is that, guys, never ever let any idea go to waste. Always put your idea to test. And don't forget, if you're looking to name your brand or name your business, I am the guy for it. And all you have to do is click on the link in the description and place an order on my Fiverr. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, y'all.